This is not a debut collection, it's a second collection, and it always feels very exciting to be able to be part of a poet's journey in that way. So I have known Konstantinos Mahony's work, commonly known to us all as Dino, for some time, having had the privilege of publishing it in a Live Canon anthology, and have just loved watching his work appear in journals and in readings and pop up all over the place, and just get more and more and more exciting. And his first collection, Tutti Frutti, won the Sentinel Poetry Book competition and was published as part of that. And then we've had the privilege to be able to continue that publishing journey with Dino, and this is his second collection, which is out with Live Canon. I felt really, really excited when Kirsten got in touch with me to tell me that she had chosen and loved this book, because it is got such an incredible combination of gleeful humour and warmth, and also being utterly unafraid to see the world as it is. It's lurching emotionally so bravely as a book, and I absolutely love everything about it. And I'm going to share with you the beautiful front cover, which was part of a long discussion about how this book definitely needed to have a comet on the front of it, but definitely not a new comet, but in fact a medieval comet. And for those of you who know how much of a geek I am, I then had a very, very enjoyable journey through many old manuscripts, and we found this absolutely gorgeous illustration. We then worked with a lovely young designer and illustrator called Billy Parker, sort of fresh out of the slate, who then worked with that original old manuscript to then expand the image out across the whole cover of the book and build the rest of the night sky to blend with the medieval image. So the actual cover tells this extraordinary story in its aesthetics of spanning, 500 years of time in its design. And on a personal level, I love the joke of the title that the Great Comet of 1996 is telling the future. It's a book that manages to look forwards in such an exciting way. So I'm now going to hand over to Kirsten, and she can tell you a bit more about it and why she chose it, and then we'll hand over to Dino to read for the book for us, all the way from Aegina, where they had a massive storm and a power cut a couple of days ago, and I was slightly nervous that we would have just a blank space in Zoom where Dino should be, but they managed to get the power back on about 24 hours ago, and I'm absolutely delighted that it's all come good and he's with us tonight. So over to Kirsten.
Are you all right over there with the power cut? Good. Okay, so I was really excited to read The Great Comet of 1996 foretells. It was unlike anything I'd really read before, and so that sparked a lot of interest. And there was a lot of mischief in there. So we never really learned the full text of the prophecy foretold by the Great Comet, but the collection is littered throughout with sort of little hints. You've got myth, modern hearsay, totems, and transformation. Mahony brings the characters of Greek legend right into the modern day, and just like many of us, obviously they seek sex, closure, companionship, and there's a whole fluidity and elasticity to these poems. They're very nimble, from the playful time bends that put Tyburn hangings next to the Millennium Bridge, and then you've got geographical shifts, dollying camera shots of memories, and this whole permeable border between life and death, both of which are utterly ridiculous in themselves. This collection, I felt like it was wriggling with impatience to get going and explore by itself. There are lots of nods to deschooling, finding oneself in random encounters, getting caught in a whole tsunami of people and life on the streets of Manhattan. And I responded at once to this whole barreling energy, sensory cascade, and this keen sense of the daftness of life, but a very serious look at the daftness of life, this reality of it. The male body was a really interesting factor in this book. It's unveiled again and again, but unlike a classical statue, Dino doesn't take out any of the pimples or imperfections. So with each shift and translation, we see a bit more of the speaker in each poem, from their designs and their desires to their pain and their flaws as well. And flaws are always the most interesting part of the character. So whether the memory we're looking at is of a loud family squabble or a strange broken link between a boy and his bird, here and now or thousands of miles away, the colours and tastes throughout this book are vividly bright and uncorrected. So I'm going to hand over to Dino, and I can't wait to hear you read.
Thanks so much, Kirsten, and over to you, Dino.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction, Kirsten. It was fabulous to. It's always great for poets to get feedback, you know, and that was really rich and useful and inspiring. And thank you so much for all my friends who turned up tonight. Lovely friends from the States, from Greece, from London, UK. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, Helen and Live Canon, for your brilliant work with poetry. I mean, I've known you now, your Live Canon organization, for many years. As you said, I've been in various anthologies and so on, and I just love your work, the joy that you bring to the Live Canon, the living poetry. So great to be here today and to share some poems with you. And I'm going to kick off with a Greek poem. It's about my baptism. I was baptized when I was 6, so I could remember it. And I was taken to Athens, you know, and they really push you under there. They go in for that. None of these Catholic splashings and everything. And the total immersion is about the baptism, but it's also about kind of the inculcation into Greek culture. Total immersion. 3 days, a continent slips by. Dover, Brussels, Munich, Belgrade, Athens. Mobbed at the station, kissed, hugged, pinched, squeezed. Kostaki, Kostaki, Kardiamu, Chrysomu, my heart, my golden one. We drive off like film stars in Grandad's limousine. He takes me to pavement cafes, watches me scoff honey cakes, flicks worry beads as he listens to my Anglo flow, says he's never met a boy who talks so much, asks mum if he can borrow me, send me to college, learn Greek. Baptism day, I stand 6 years tall in a font for dunking babies, shy skinny schoolboy in white underpants. Crammed underwater, I surface to a slathering of olive oil, taste sunshine, soil, mum's lettuce salad. Towel dried, dressed, white shirts, blue shorts, choir chanting, hearts crossed up, down, right, left, right, left. Grandad leads me 3 times round in circles, then gold crucifix flashing out into the dissolving blaze of the cathedral square. And I carry on with Greek poems. I've spent lockdown in Greece. I'm now on, as Helen was saying, on the Greek island of Aina. I've moved here in October, but before that I was in the Peloponnese, famous for its olive groves. And a friend of mine who's got a whole bunch of olive groves down there asked me if I would name one of her olive trees, which is really ancient, and it's got these kind of offshoots growing out of its roots. And she wanted me to do a naming ceremony. And I wrote this poem as part of it. And it's called Mother Olive. 300 years she's fruited in this grove. 2 daughters risen either side her shallow sprawling roots. She remembers their early years as only mothers can, in slow, sure rings, their slender trunks stretching upwards. The autumn, their first firm green droops were shaken from their crowns. She's a ruined castle now, a hollow keep, an open window in her gnarled spine framing sky, her knotty bark dribbled candle wax. Her daughters cannot leave. They will stay until the end, patient nurses at her side. When finally she sinks back into the soil, they will face each other, silent across the void. And staying in Greece, part of that lockdown in the Peloponnese, we had these giant storms. You know, Helen was talking about the storm we had here the other day. And in the winter, we had these ones, they named them Medicanes, Mediterranean hurricanes, global warming, these new freaky storms that go roaring across the Mediterranean. We knew one was coming to hit us. So a drinking buddy and I got ourselves down to a beachside taverna and have a drink before it was, while we still had a chance. Maistraki Beach. Near a little white chapel on the rocks by the sea, we sit at a taverna knocking back ouzo, the trellis vine above us shivering like a Roma tambourine. The Gulf churns, mountains of Arcadia mass, storm Zorbas on its way. We order another bottle, half-filled glasses, add water, toast the approaching cataclysm with cloudy lion's milk. 3 bottles down, we're riffing on death, how to dodge it. We review friends' drinking habits, speculate on the state of their livers. Fates, we deal out lifespans and order another bottle. When the blues rubbed out of a blue world, what's left? The bleached canvas of beach umbrellas, pale-skinned pebbles, tabula rasa of an alcohol-rinsed mind. And now 2 poems about animals. And the first one's about Budgie. And I don't know if we used to have budgies, kept them in cages in the kitchen. This poem's called Budgie Boy. In a frantic flutter of wings, he springs from the opened cage door, flies up to the kitchen washing line, hangs upside down, swallow dives, lands on my shoulder, nibbles the juicy jungle fruit of my fleshy earlobe. Perched on my index finger, he is my first kiss, pecking my lips, his little beak tasting of millet and cuttlefish. Every day we chirp to each other, blink in avian Morse, close as bird and boy could ever be. How did it happen? The separation, those little acts of cruelty, his injured wing. When occasionally I remembered him, my pimpled face looming up at the bars, he'd turn his back, gaze in the mirror as if I wasn't there. And the next animal is a snake, working from home, anaconda. And it's a poem in 3 voices. First voice, the voice of the mother, second, the father, and then the son. Mother, dinner ready. There's a stampede usually, but where are they? Jake's not in his room. And when I check on Andy, he's sprawled out on the bedroom floor. I totally lose it. Think he's had a heart attack. Then I see his belly, huge, and he's smiling. Father, I'd been working on the spreadsheet all day, my biggest client. Jake creeps in and roars right in my ear, and poof, whole thing vanishes. I'm a lion, what are you? An anaconda. What's that? A big snake that can swallow little boys. Next thing I know, I'm flat on the floor and Trish is screaming. The boy. I asked Daddy what animal he is. A big snake, and I can swallow you. I'm too big to swallow. And he said, I can unlock my jaws. And the next poem is about an estranged father trying to get close to his daughter by smoking a bong together. Peace pipe. Now, she goes. He sucks hard. The bowl seethes. Smoke shoots up the stem, down his throat, fills his lung. He tries hard to hold it in. chokes it out in racking spasms. She laughs. What's he like? He hopes this will bring them together, sharing a smoke, having a laugh. Out the window, he sees people queuing at a bus stop in the rain. He counts them, 5, 6, 7, the years they've been apart. He asks what she remembers. A film you made me watch when I was 6. A man gets eaten by ants. Everything except his glasses. And my last poem is, I'm going to read the title poem, The Great Comet of 1996 Foretells. Some of you may remember in 1996, the comet Hyakutake was really strongly visible in the sky. It was a classic comet, you know, the big glowing ball and a big tail. And in that year, I was living in Hong Kong, and the phone rang early in the morning, and it was some very dear friends, who were a very dear friend from the States, from Massachusetts, phoning and asking me if I would be the sperm donor for a baby that her and her partner, they were a lesbian couple, wanted to have, and I agreed. And the poem is kind of the story about that process. Don't forget, this is 1996. A lot of my LGBTQ plus friends now have got children. It's a lot easier, but back then in the 90s, it was a little bit more complicated. So it's the story of that going from Hong Kong to the States. Hong Kong, 3 a.m., raucous jangling of bells. He picks up the receiver. A distant voice proclaims, "You are the chosen one." Annunciation. Kowloon Fertility Clinic. He fills in a form, clay tablet, receives a semen sample container, silver chalice, is directed down a corridor, valley, to a WC, natural spring. Under a neighboring stall, sees lowered jeans crumpled over size 12 trainers, beast of the field. Sperm count, motility, morphology, normal. Buys ticket, soars over ocean of peace, transmigration, transits Los Angeles, question on immigration form, reason for entry. Through the airport intercom, a heraldic fanfare of trumpets, proclamation. Boston Logan, arrivals, group embrace with mothers, Trinity. 3 in 1, consubstantial. At home, he and one of the mothers role-played the coming interview in a relationship, but separated by work. Apocryphal. Why they wish to have a child. Revelation. Cambridge Fertility Clinic. Side by side, the couple are interviewed, judged, approved, fine favor. He fills in a form, clay tablet, is handed a container, silver chalice, follows a nurse, guardian angel, to a private room, tabernacle. Knock twice when you're done. Straight porn on the coffee table. Penthouse, Playboy, Debbie Does Dallas. Revealed texts. He closes his eyes. Visions. Knocks twice, ritual. Hatch door slides open. Barbecue, burnt offering with the mothers, Trinity. They drink communion to the great comet Hyakutake, holy star. Smooth oval head, tadpole tail, streaking bright over Plum Island, Bethlehem. Thanks very much.